Peace and welcome to the Message to the Black Fam program here on War on the Horizon. I am your host, Sister Lady Shabazz, and I have a special treat in store for you today. As you can probably tell, I say probably 95% of the guests that I have on the program are people that I know personally. That's just how I do it. I just know a whole bunch of fabulous people and I like to share them with the world. But today we are talking about finance, taxation, and doing for self. We're going to hit on racism and classism a little bit and how these things affect us. And my guest is somebody who is definitely a friend of my family. Both me and my husband love her to death. And she is a special kind of person because, see, the Lady Shabazz y'all see now is not the same Lady Shabazz that I've always been. I've refined it and toned myself down quite a bit. When I first met our guest today, I was probably a bit obnoxious. You hear me say things from, every now and then, and you're like, okay, well, that was kind of strong. Well, no, when I met her, I had just moved back from this lily white rural area, middle of nowhere, Missouri. And I had seen all kinds of stuff down there. And so when I came back, I was kind of angry. I did not have, of course, I'm not the biggest fan of Caucasian people. That's not something that we don't know. This is War on the Horizon. We know that. But I was pretty extreme. I was even black people. If you were the least bit soft, I was just, to me, you were a coon. I didn't want to hear nothing about it. I was done with you. I was very rough around the edges and very obnoxious with this. I just hated everybody. Didn't quite know why, but if you wasn't rolling with me, I just had no use for you. So I wasn't the easiest person to get along with, but I met this sister and she could actually tolerate me. And I was like, okay, this sister is all right. She's very strong, very informed, and she was able to take me from a position of just being angry and knowing why, but not really knowing details and history and all of this, to really informing me and giving me a lot of information I didn't know, be it economics or the history of the city that we were in at the time, why neighborhoods were made the way they were, and how laws were made after slavery affecting black people, and just all kinds of things that, as a 20-something, I just didn't know. I never heard any of these things. She gave me a really, really good education. So I've always just held her in very high esteem because, as far as I'm concerned, she's brilliant. She's a warrior. She's a fighter. So when it crossed my mind that we should probably do a show on finance, this is something that a lot of black people avoid, she's the first person I thought about, because sometimes finance can be a little bit boring. It can seem like, it doesn't really relate to us, especially if we don't have money. We're like, well, what am I even talking, about this for? And I knew that having her on, she would fit right in with the whole character of the radio station. She's strong, she's a fighter, she's a warrior, she knows what she's doing, and she's living it. She's not somebody just talking about it, she's actually living it. Her name is Robin Lewis, and yeah, I guess there's not too much to say. You'll see for yourself why I love her so much. I'm going to go ahead and bring on my sister. Miss Robin, you there?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening. How you doing?
Good evening. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
I thank you for the powerful introduction.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I thank you. I think back sometimes to how when you first met me, and even I remember later on was around the time of the Obama election, and I was just like, I didn't like too many people back then. So I thank you for putting up with me and my foolishness.
It was enjoyable.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I guess could you just get everybody familiar with you and your business? What kind of services you provide and your areas of expertise?
Okay, I sure will. I sure will. As Lady Shabazz said, I'm Robin Lewis. I'm with a company called ComproTax, and we are the nation's largest African-American owned tax company. We've been in business for 30 years. We're based out of Beaumont, Texas, and sometimes I like to relate the story of why I joined this company. It was a little bit after we had our little mini rebellion here in Cincinnati, and built out of frustration and understanding that we can burn everything down, but it's just not going to truly solve the issues. I was looking for a more economic answer to some of the problems that I thought I might be able to answer, and I actually met a very interesting brother named Ken Bridges, who started the Mata Network. And he came down to one of our meetings, and he said, yeah, y'all can bang and yell all y'all want to, but you're not going to get nothing right till you get your economics right. And sitting in that meeting, it kind of just slapped me in the face. And then by some miracle, I ran into the brothers from Comprotax up in Columbus, Ohio, and went to a meeting, didn't really know where I was going, and was just really overwhelmed to meet such conscious, serious brothers who had a real concern for our people. And so I joined the company because they created a mechanism, I'll say, or a way that we could not only empower ourselves, but we could empower the community, our families, and anybody who wanted to be empowered through our program. So we do I do tax preparation for every entity that would need a tax return, from an individual all the way up to the highest paid corporation. In my office, actually, let me say, is located in Cincinnati, Ohio. Our Cincinnati office has been open for 10 years. And they gave such a great vehicle that I wanted to be a part of something that was bigger than me and something that might enable me to help others. And so we do it through training. We study tax law. I'll actually put the names of the founders out there because these are some really, really conscious, good brothers. Dr. Jackie Mayfield, who is a self-made millionaire, ninth grade educated. Never had a job in his life, not because he didn't want one, but because society wouldn't give him one. So he learned how to make his own money. Brother Yusef Muhammad, who actually does our training, a very bright, sharp brother, and Brother Craig Johnson. And the three of them started the company from working. They were actually working in the insurance industry, and they discovered in some of their research that our people were not getting quality tax service. We're being predatored on, and nobody cared, the outcome of what happened to us. And so they decided to try it as a trial 30 years ago, and I guess I'd say the rest is history. But what I like most about what they did was they created a company in which anyone who came in could excel to any level they wanted to. The system is designed for you to be able to come in to Comprotax and have a couple years of support to build up your knowledge and your client base, and then where you go from there is up to you. Our current president happened to be Brother Ron Fontenot out of Lake Charles, Louisiana, happened to be a client about 20 years ago, and they mentioned the opportunity to him, and he said yes, and he did so well with the program that he is now president of the company. And I don't know many brothers who would step aside and let another brother run the place. But he did such a good job that they let him do it. And one note about Brother Ron is he's opened a number of offices around the country. But last year we opened a Comprotax office on the site of the Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So that was kind of exciting for us.
Wow.
So we're located all across the country. We have offices in many cities. We're heavily in Texas and Louisiana, but we're scattered around in some other cities, just a difficulty getting people to come in. And so basically we do taxes. In my office, we also do bookkeeping for small businesses, and we also have a full-service payroll company. And, of course, we do our yearly training.
Yes, ma'am. That's very exciting. I wasn't aware that you guys opened up a location right in the middle of Black Wall Street. That is definitely awesome.
Yeah, that was kind of a highlight. It was something that, wow, maybe we can make it back to where we were.
Yes.
There.
Yes, ma'am. I guess we can get right into it. And I have to admit, I'm guilty of this too. Most Black people, when it comes to finance, we kind of shy away from really learning and getting involved in it. And I think um, to some extent that's done purposely. You know, in school, the things that they don't want us to learn, they make it so boring and makes it seem so irrelevant that you're not interested. You know, like science is one of the most fascinating fields out there, but you sit in a public school and learn science and you're falling asleep. They do the same thing with math. They do the same thing with anything that could benefit us. So a lot of times we don't know even simple stuff. There's people, even though checks are becoming obsolete, there's people who don't know how to write a check, don't know how to budget their money. We definitely, a lot of times, don't know anything about the stock market or tax laws or anything that could empower us and get us to do better. Why do you think that is?
I think mainly it's because I think we tend to think, oh, I don't have any money, so I don't need to know about that. But we're stuck here in capitalist America, and so we are victim of the rules of capitalism, except that, we don't exactly survive in it or do well. And I think we're just afraid. It's just something that we're scared of, and because of that, we're in the condition that we're in, I believe, because we don't quite understand how the game is played. And of course, like you said, with school, that was all by design. And even if you get showing interest or become good with it, the school system would find a way to discourage you. So that part was by design, or still is.
Yes, ma'am. Definitely. Um, There's just so many places to start. Well, first, I always forget to give out the call in number. Let me go on and give that out. If you have any questions today or any comments, definitely call in. We want to make sure that you get those questions answered, especially because tax season is coming up. The dial-in number is 760-569-7676. Again, 760-569-7676. The participation code is 948656#. That's 948656#. Now, can you tell us a little bit about, because we all know, that there's some kind of racism or classism issues when it comes to public policies, tax law, finances. I mean, we saw that with the last, housing bubble when it burst, how we were preyed upon and how all of these policies are being put into action that directly harm us, but we don't really know too much about it. Can you give us a little idea of maybe some specifics? Because we tend to think about it in vague terms because we feel the pinch, but we really don't know what's going on behind the scenes and how these things affect us.
Okay, well, I'll start maybe with the taxes. The tax laws are actually written for wealthy people. They're written for people who are in business. Those people who work their whole life never really get an opportunity to take advantage of the tax laws as they are currently written. If you are wealthy and you have income different than wages, they have income out called capital gains. I know a lot of people have heard a lot of talk about that. That's income that you earn from investments and qualified dividends. Those are taxed at a very, very, very low rate. And so it tends to be that those individuals who probably have the less pay the most taxes, and that's just kind of part of the whole American structure. And in terms of financing, I believe it has a lot to do with the institutional racism that continues to exist in our institutions. And so people feel free to treat us differently and to offer us higher loan rates and things like that simply because, one, we don't know any better, and two, because that racist element is there that people don't really want you to have, so they figure if they make the bar higher for you, they don't want you to have it. So we tend to be ignorant in areas where we probably need to know more so that we can fight a better fight. And all that is, in my view, done by design, of course. That's kind of part of the system of America since it's existed, and it hasn't really changed. It just changed the way that it functions. So in financing, when you go to bank and try to get a loan, automatically, if you look like us and they get a chance to see you, they're all automatically going to put some little weird code on it, and your interest rate's going to be higher than that of someone with the same qualifications because they have a different skin color. And with the tax laws, it's just a matter of studying them. We don't know. Lack of knowledge is really what's hurting us. And so that's kind of why I like the brothers that I work with, because they know it and understand it, and then they educate us. And so it is just a matter of understanding what the laws are and then redesigning your life to benefit from them. That's what we try to teach people.
Definitely, and I can attest that they do a really good job in their training. I actually took Robin's class quite a few years ago, but I was kind of cooning at the time, and right around the time I finished the class, I was offered this really cushy job at a major insurance company where the pay was really nice and I didn't have to work. And at that point, I needed a paycheck. I needed something steady versus something that may not be as steady. And I also did not have as much confidence as I do now to actually feel like I can go out and market myself and get customers and all of this kind of stuff. But so I didn't actually go through and work for the company, which I regret now. And actually, I'm thinking about going back and doing exactly that. But I learned so much, and there was still a lot that I could learn. And going back year after year, there's always more to learn. There's always laws changing. But I went in the door not knowing anything. I had never done my own taxes. I let relatives do it. I wanted nothing to do with taxes or money or finances, none of that. And by the time I went out, I'd say I at least had a basic knowledge of some things that I could do to help myself out, as far as, getting different deductions and things like that, to help. And that's something that most of us just don't know unless we're taught.
Yeah, that's true. I had a question, just a comment on what you said. You said you didn't want to have anything to do with taxes, finances, anything. Do you know why that was?
It's made so complicated sometimes that you think that you really aren't going to be able to grasp it. And like I said, I'd never even filed my own tax return. So I'm looking at like this big textbook, like, okay, I've got to learn all that. There's no way that I can, actually know all that. And I think a lot of, us, as a people feel that way when it's something that absolutely nothing about. Sometimes it can be a bit intimidating. If it's something I know and I know I can excel in, I'll do it. But because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, if I don't think I can do it, then I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I should leave that alone.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. One of the points that I guess I don't do well when we have class and we recruit people into the business is that we're not really in the tax business. We're in the entrepreneurship business. And we're just using taxes as a vehicle in order to achieve the things that we need to achieve in order to create our own schools, our own hospitals, our own communities, our own banks. We have to have an economic unity. It can't just be one person with money. We have to learn how to create money together. And so that's kind of something that when I have class, we're kind of focused on, making sure people learn, but we do want them to understand that that's not really the basis of what we're doing.
And that's true.
So I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I just said I think that's one of the reasons why we have difficulty retaining people is because they don't see the bigger picture.
Yes, ma'am. And you told me that, and that's what got me into the class because I was all about nation building. I mean, that's one of the reasons I even got into the Nation of Islam. I'm like, yeah, we're going to build a nation. But especially then, and I've gotten over it a little bit as I've aged, but I think a lot of people suffer from it more than they'll admit, is just a lack of confidence. Even if you're considered to be intelligent, or even if you, are a fairly bright person and can grasp things, sometimes you still lack that confidence, either that you're going to be able to understand and excel in something, or that you're going to be able to sell yourself and really get out there. And I think that those are things that really hold us back. And it's, you can definitely get over it. But I think at that time, that's probably what held me back, was just a lack of confidence. I'm going to actually have to go out and talk to people and get customers and market myself. How do I do that? Am I marketable? I don't know. So, we're dealing with um, the ramifications of being part of a people who were enslaved, still really for all intents and purposes up to today. Um,
Yeah.
you know, and that definitely has an impact on self-esteem, on confidence, on everything. A lot of times, we as a people like to pretend that, oh, I'm all that, I got it together. But when it comes down to it, we still have that little bit of doubt.
Right, right. And that is one area where we have to do a lot of training too, because a lot of us don't know who we are. We don't understand the powerful people. We don't understand our ancestors' blood runs through us and the things that they accomplished. We're still the same people. We've been through some things, and of course we've been brainwashed and a lot of other problems. But bottom line is, we're the originators of the world. We're Africans, and we can pretty much do anything, and generally we're the best at it. And so that's a retraining process that has to go on after us being miseducated in these school systems and so forth. That's the biggest hurdle that we face, is just that confidence thing and that understanding of how powerful of people we are, that we can do absolutely anything and be the best at it, but we have to have the confidence. So that's a big factor with us too.
That's true. And you said something earlier that really made me think, as far as, getting into this and really getting hyped up about it. When you brought up the point that the brother told you that we are pretty much done dirty when we go to white tax companies. A lot of times they aren't trained very well. And even if they are trained well, they're not going to go above and beyond for you. They have a lot of, like the quick loans where they eat up so much of your money and different things like that. What are some of the ways that going to a white tax company that doesn't really care about you one way or the other, what are some of the tricks they do, or what are some of the things they do that harm us and kind of cheat us out of our money?
Well, a lot of times they're predatory in nature. They come to our community in early January, late December. They set up shop, and they see us, as every other business does, as their moneymaker. And so what they do basically is, like you said, they're uneducated. Their fees are 3 times what they should be, especially for young people who, are out here struggling, and they may see they getting a refund. But then there's the miseducation. One of the things I heard when I first started the business was people were shocked that we talked to them. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they said, oh, them other places don't let us talk. And I'm like, really? And so basically they see us as every other business that props up in our community as, that quick money. A lot of these companies make so much money off of us in 3 months that they shut down and disappear. And because of the type of consumers that we are, we do not hold these companies accountable. So they can come in, do us a disservice, and generally by the time we realize they've done us wrong, they're gone, and we can't even contact them again when we get our letter from IRS. So it's really just a disservice of not caring, seeing us as their children's college education. And so basically it's whatever they can get away with.
Yes, ma'am.
And
I
it's
remember.
really
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that it's unfortunate that we allow this year after year.
And that's exactly what we do. I think so many of us are just happy that we're getting anything back. We get to live fabulous for a couple weeks until we spend it all up. That's really all that matters.
Right, right. And unfortunately, we go back and give it to the same people who oppress us within 2 hours.
Yes, ma'am. Year after year, it never fails.
Yeah, but one thing I wanted to say too is, and this is going to be a rude awakening for our community, but the tax industry is kind of going through a major change right now, which will be good for us, where the whole next day loan and I'm getting my money today, that kind of scene is kind of leaving. It's interesting this year that a lot of people who do their Christmas on their tax refund, and then they do their New Year's on another loan they get, and then they get another loan right after New Year's, and before they even get their W-2, they spent $1,000 and they've gotten their money, and they're probably broke before they even get their W-2. Well, that kind of options are becoming unavailable for us. There are really no next day loans now. They're starting to, this year, call them something different. They're calling them lines of credit. But most of the banks have backed out of that, and I just don't know how our people are going to survive. They're definitely not going to have a Merry Christmas, and they're not going to have their little New Year's soiree, because basically they're going to have to wait and do it on time with everybody else. And actually, it's a good thing because we allow these people to predator on us, and so we need somebody else to tell us to stop. So it is stopping. You may see a few people still trying to drag a few dollars out of it, but for the most part, that is ending. And another big problem that I'm going to mention in our community is that we sell our children. This is December, early December. Our children go on the black market for tax season. We start to sell them, especially the young ladies who are receiving assistance and maybe not working and may have 5 children. They start offering them to the highest bidder. And that's a problem that's got to stop because IRS focuses more on that than they do on the high-income cheaters.
Of course. Of course. We probably would get more jail time for that or more fees for that than it would if you embezzled, Lord only knows, 6 figures, you know?
Right.
Now, one thing that I remember from class that was so interesting to me at the time, and I don't know why I was surprised, but I guess because I knew nothing about taxes before entering the class and being educated on these things, were the whole idea of reparations. We know, a lot of countries around the world now are saying that Black people should get reparations. Of course, our government, headed by our president, is still saying no, they should not get reparations. We're not even going to talk about it. It's off the table. But could you tell us a little bit about the Jews and how they're being compensated and helped out as far as their Holocaust and so-called Holocaust, how they're being benefited from that?
I don't know all the details about it. I think it's been going on for a great number of years. One of the things that we did study in class, and all my students get angry when we get to that part, is that the money that they have received as victims of the Holocaust is non-taxable income. And so it is really strange to even run across that and say, what? The Jewish people are getting Holocaust payments and they don't have to pay tax on it. And so I think the Native Americans got their money in a different way, and really didn't get compensated, let's face it, let's tell the truth. Whereas the Jewish people, and I believe they're still getting it, even though that little piece that we used to study in the book has disappeared. I think it makes people question, but that little subject that we, first of all, to be shocked to find out that they were getting it, and then to understand that however much money they got, they didn't even have to pay tax on, was just really, usually at that point in class, we kind of ended and got into some radical talk during class, but that's kind of how it is, and unfortunately, I don't see this country doing the right thing when it comes to reparations for us. I just don't see it. I don't see the structure changing. I know everybody thinks we're in heaven now because we have a Black president, but America hasn't changed not one lick since he's been in. So, and they're not going to change. So, they take care of the Jewish, and I will say that Jewish and the Russians and other nationalities can come over here, not work, and because of where they came from. They can receive Social Security and get all kind of benefits and things and live good lives. And those of us who built this country from the ground up can't get anything. So that's kind of, now I don't know how long they've been getting it, but I do know they get it.
Yes, ma'am. It reminds me of, I never realized this until I moved to Detroit. And there's one of the highest Arab populations in the world here in a city called Dearborn, but there's other pockets of Arabs throughout the city as well. And I noticed every time I went to a market or something like that, they'd be using their little food stamp card, and I'm like, wow, because everybody looks at us like, oh, you're welfare recipients, and that's so horrible. I found out that in Michigan, they actually don't even have to stand in line to get their welfare. They actually have a whole different section of the building where they go and service them. And as soon as they get off the boat, they get food stamps, of course, business loans, all kinds of things that are not options to us. They treat us like dirt. And then all of these immigrants come over and say, well, we can do it. Why can't you?
Right, right, right. But they've given the red carpet and, they get all these benefits and so forth. So we can do it, though. I don't want to say that. We just choose not to. But in terms of those benefits, yeah. And that's, just a symptom of America, actually. Fits right in with everything else that they do. But, I noticed that, too, that they just get all these benefits and then turn their noses down at us as if we're begging for something. It really bothers me.
Yes, ma'am. And just off the topic, just a little bit, but I just want to verify this for everybody that thinks I'm lying. We were talking a little bit about the current administration. Now, you knew me back when this first election was going on. Did I not predict that nothing was going to get changed? In fact, it may get worse. Did you hear that come out of my mouth a couple times?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Okay, I just want to let that be known because people act like I'm just, like I'm just finding this out. And I'm like, no, I tried to tell people, they wouldn't listen. All right.
They don't understand America, and it doesn't really matter who's in there. All of a sudden I hear people around here talking about he's our new savior. Really? And I think, really? What's he going to save you from? People tell me he's going to keep their car from being repossessed, and I'm like, oh, boy. So, yeah, we don't quite get it. That's what people don't understand this country.
Wow. Yeah, those people must not have come to Detroit because he hasn't stopped anything from happening up here. It's interesting. This city is definitely interesting. Now, I know we've talked about this a little bit before, even when I was coming in to do your classes. Why taxes? Out of all the businesses that you could choose, all the different ways to do for self, like we said, that's something that a lot of Black people tend to shy away from. What makes that such a good business to get into?
Well, mainly because there's such a great need in our community. We use it to empower our people and educate, and it's just a whole where, we're so unknowledgeable, and like I said, those predators that come in and take advantage of us. So it's an area where you get a lot of gratification after you've educated someone. They come in and we sit down and we talk, and so it's like, sometimes even make lifestyle changes once you give them an understanding of how the tax laws are written. So I actually like it because I can see where I'm changing people's lives, saving them money. That's the whole point. We need to keep our money. The government does not need our money. And so to be able to educate people to the point that they change the way they live in order to keep more money. And we just need somebody to do our taxes for us that actually cares about us. And that's why I'm in the business, and I really enjoy it because of that.
Yes, ma'am. And the one thing that I think I liked most about ComproTax, and why for the last couple of years I've seriously been thinking about scraping up my little pennies and coming back in, is that you can, like you said, you can do what you want to do. If you just want to do taxes, you can just do taxes. If you want to do taxes in the office, you can. If you want to do a home-based business and not have to go to an office, you can do that too. If you want to open up your own franchise, that's a possibility that's open to you too. There's just so many ways that you can do it. And the thing that always got me that you used to say is it's not about taxes. This is a way to empower you to do whatever you want to do. So you come in here, you do these little taxes, you make your money, and then if you want to, whatever little revolutionary thing you want to do or whatever community based thing you want to do, now you're able to do that because it takes money. We can't have any kind of change or any kind of revolution for the best if we're broke.
That's correct. That's correct. And one of the things I like, I don't know that I said this, but 10 years ago when I first joined the company and I started going to Texas, they would drive me by this piece of land and tell me, "Look, Robin, look." And I look, I said, "I don't see nothing." And they said to me, "That's our land. That's our land. We're going to have our building, you know." And what happened over the next 5 years was that some of us in the company began to put our money together. And 5 years ago, we opened our own building, the Compro Event Center. It's a 25,000 square foot state-of-the-art building in Beaumont, Texas, and it was built by us for us. And so it was kind of like our first example of what we can do when we work together and that we build income together. So it's just a start. It's not a school. It's not a hospital. But it's a place where we can go and do what we want, say what we want, be there as long as we want. And we don't have that in a lot of cities. All these organizations and groups and things, they always want to have a conference or get together or this or that. And yet we don't own anything where we end up giving the people we don't want to have our money. So that was kind of one of the powerful things that I really enjoyed and appreciated about the WE organization that ComproTax is. And I wanted to comment, too, about the different opportunities because right now we're really pushing this mobile tax office. It's really become big with us. The cost of overhead of a building is really costly to keep a business going. And so we initiated maybe about 4 years ago, like you said, the home base. We call it the mobile tax office. But we're really pushing that now. We've got people all over the country doing taxes on their laptops. You can pretty much do it anywhere. We've got the software and all the equipment to facilitate that. And so it's another way to do that other than coming into the office because a lot of times with the times the way they are, it's difficult to get our people to support our businesses. That's another issue. And so sometimes the cost of an overhead is not good. But to keep the concept going, this mobile tax office is really powerful, and that's kind of how we're recruiting now. And so that's just a way to get in. It's not like a franchise. Franchises cost you anywhere from $20,000 to $150,000 on the low end. Our course costs $1,599 is the cost to go into business for yourself, and you can become a millionaire if you so desire.
And what is the price for the class if you operate out of an office? Is it the same price or is it a different price?
It's a different price. It's $595 is the cost of going into business, and that's not only the training, but if you come into the office location, we have a system called Provisional Time to Grow, which means you sit in that office for 2 years. You don't pay any rent. We have a commission sharing system, but you get an opportunity to build clients, gain some knowledge, and also, like you said, get the courage to go out and open your own office. And so there's so many different ways that you can come into the business. The brothers put such a structure together. There's not a structure like this in America where we share profits and we help people get on their feet. They've taken people from welfare to six figures. So it's really, and in the meantime, too, just understanding that, you know, you got to be able to build your confidence. You got to know that you're capable of achieving success because a lot of us don't think we deserve it. And that's one of the big problems in our community is we don't believe we deserve to be successful. So that whole mind change has to occur.
That's definitely true. And when you say training, you know, a lot of people, they'll give you like, okay, it's going to cost $500 or $600 and they'll talk about training and it's like 2 hours. No, ComproTax training is training. Can you tell them what the training schedule is like?
Yeah, it's an 18-week training course. We meet 4 hours a day for 18 weeks. We read an entire book. We study tax law. We have a test every week. And also we have a final exam at the end. Now, one of the reasons why this has been so great is because IRS has now changed their rules. And now they're requiring that people who come into the tax business and make money, they're requiring that they have a few more standards than they've had before. So this whole change is occurring like right now. There's a new test out that people have one more year before they have to pass it. So you're going to start seeing less and less tax people. But because of the way ComproTax training has been so state-of-the-art and up to par, this change IRS made didn't even shake us. As a matter of fact, many of us have already gone in and passed their little tests because what we teach is so way far and above what their test requires. So the training really teaches you, and we have a requirement that you either teach or take class every year. So therefore, the first time you take it, you're not going to learn everything, but over time, you're going to become an expert like our founders are.
Yes, ma'am. And, I remember, just for the record, in case anybody's wondering, I did pass the test. Don't think I flunked out. I did pass, but I was sweating bullets, though, because like I came from a background of not knowing anything about taxes, just looking at this exam and thinking, oh, man. But it's doable.
Well, we usually find it's the people who know nothing that do the best. It's always the people who think they know something that really don't, but it's the people who know nothing that come into the ComproTax system and do quite well because the brothers, they knew nothing. They taught themselves taxes to the point where they could teach a class. So it's usually people like yourself who do the best.
Wow. Yeah, because I had to do a lot of studying, all the different terminology, but I just really want people to know, and like I said, we're taking whatever questions you have today as we're getting into tax season, and we're going to be going to the phone lines in just a moment. But since I have gone through the training and I've kind of seen how it operates, I can testify the fact that it is doable. It seems hard, it seems intimidating, but once you get in there, especially if you had a good teacher, depending on what city you're in and what ComproTax representative you're dealing with, that everybody has different personalities and different teaching methods. Luckily, I had Robin, and she's very patient and, explains things very well in a way that makes it relevant to Black people, which, of course, got most of our attention because it's relevant. It's made relevant. But it can be done because if I can learn taxes, there's a few things was not good with finances. I learned that while taking the class that I was a little bit better in that than I thought. And I'm not good with technology. I still fight with the technology. So if you can get me to be able to do either one of those, then anybody can do it. So I just really want to stress that this is a way to make money because so many of the people on War on the Horizon are trying to do different things. We're trying to open schools. Some of us are doing Feed the People programs. Just everybody at War on the Horizon has something going on. We're all into different projects, and our listeners, of course, as well, are very, very active, especially our listening audience. It's pretty impressive. But a lot of times we get stuck because we don't have the finances to do what we need to do. And this is such a simple investment. It's more an investment in time, really, than money and just going to the training and doing your studies and, taking the test. It's more of a time investment than anything. But this is a way that we can stop talking about what we need to do and put ourselves in a position where we can do it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's one of the things that I wish, some of our people, some of our activists could see. A lot of times I hear that we don't like money and money is evil. But yeah, that may be true. But if you've got money and you've got a consciousness, then, we can change a lot of things that are going on in our community. It's not the money that's the problem. It's your consciousness. If you're not conscious, then you're going to do stupid things with your money. But if you look around our community, you can see how badly we need money. Our children need choices. We need to put some things in place so that they don't have to be victims to what's out here now. We don't want our children running for jobs. But if they're miseducated and that's what they're sent to do, then that's what they'll do. So it gives us a chance to build money together, work together, and then we get a project. Okay, well, let's build a hospital in Detroit. Okay, well, that'd be our first project. And so we save up enough money and everybody puts it in, and then we get that. Then we go to the next place, and we need a school. And so working together, the unity of it all, that's the part that I had not seen in the city I'm from. There's no unity among black folks. We can't work together for 5 minutes because somebody's worried about who's going to hold the money. And one of the things that most impressed me about ComproTax was that they're all about the we. They use the I am because we are philosophy. And not only do they say it, they do it. They may be millionaires, but all their money goes back into helping the next person and the next person and the next person. And so, we're starting with our building because we were tired of giving money to the other people. But, eventually we're hoping to have schools. We're hoping to have hospitals and all the things that we need in our community so our children can just walk in and begin to make money. That's our goal.
Yes, ma'am. And like I said, that opening an office on Black Wall Street, that's awesome. I know that hits home for a lot of people on Warren Horizon. We talk about Black Wall Street so much. So to hear that, somebody actually took the initiative to do that, just the symbolism in it is very, very powerful.
Yeah.
Do you mind if we go and take a couple of callers?
I don't mind at all.
Okay, sounds good. Again, if you want to call in, the number is 760-569-7676. Participation code is 948656#. That's 948656#. I will open up your line with the last 4 digits, and if you're listening in, just let me know you're listening. Otherwise, feel free to ask your question. 9653, you're live. Caller with a number ending 9653. Did you have a question or comment? All right, I will assume that you are just listening. And I see some people dropping off the line. You don't have to do that. You can continue to listen. If you don't have a question, if you're feeling shy, that's fine. We'll just go right on to the next person. So you can hang on the line, no problem. My brother, Reborn African, how you doing? Brother, Reborn African? All right. I'm wondering if maybe there's a Skype issue. I'm going to keep on going down the line and I'll see if I can get anybody here.
Okay.
4517, you're live.
I'm listening.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for listening in. 1275, you're live.
Peace, Sister Shabazz. You're having a great show tonight. How you doing?
Peace. Thanks. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Sister Robin, this is Kid Way from House of Black. How you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing great. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. Hey, you having this is an excellent show and you're offering a lot of great information. This sister was definitely sent to us by the ancestors, and your story is real inspiring. And I just wanted to say a big Asante Sana for taking the initiative to educate us as far as our finances. I met you about 4 or 5 years ago, and ever since then we've had a warm, comfortable, and friendly relationship. And again, I just wanted to thank you for just being that warrior sister out there on the front line to educate us, in finances and economics, because racism is definitely beating us up in the area of economics. But I just had a little question as far as audits. Is the government being predatory as far as audits towards the poor or blacks versus whites, or is that something that's just straight across the line, straight across the board for us?
Well, I'll say in general it's straight across the board. It is what happens once it occurs that can become an issue. If you don't know how to stand up and speak up for yourself and fight, and you don't understand, the tax laws and so forth, it can be grueling. And it tends to affect us more just simply because of our lack of knowledge. But I don't think that they pick, really the poor don't have anything to audit, for one thing. So other than chasing down them children, they generally tend not to mess with the poor too much. Like I said, that area of the children is a big area that they do. And that's simply because of the way we sell our children out here and pass them around like they're candy. So that's kind of a problem that we created for ourselves. But overall, I think that sometimes they do tend to see successful people that look like us and tend to give us a much harder time than they would if it was somebody who did not look like us in the audit. So those issues do come into play because institutional racism is alive, and we've got racists working in these places. So it just happens going to be that way.
Okay, now you mentioned the children. You know my situation because I've been dealing with you for a few years now. But as far as me and my children's mother, we every other year, we will deal with and claim the children. Is that something we need to worry about, or as far as you said, selling the children? Do I fall under that, or how does that work? Can you talk in depth about that?
Yeah, no, that has nothing to do with you. A lot of parents do that, and I think that's the right thing to do. But we have people in our community who will go up to a complete stranger. We have Mexicans who sell to Africans, Mexicans who sell to blacks. We have people who see their children as worth $800 per person. I'll let you claim my child. You pay me $800. That's the low end. Some people sell theirs for $1,500. That's a whole different thing. If they're your children and you have a right to claim them, then you fight for that right. They may question you, but you fight for that right. So I'm not talking about parents who do the right thing by sharing, going every other year. I think that's what we need to understand we need to do. But this is for people who let others, who they sometimes don't even know, claim their children. So you have nothing to worry about.
Oh, okay. I get it. Okay. Well, I don't want to hold up the phone lines. I know the phone lines are probably lit up. Hopefully they are anyway, because we do need to be educated as far as finance, because we're lacking in that area. So, sister, you have a great night, and you continue to educate us as far as what we need to know. And I'll be seeing you soon. I guess I'll be seeing you within the next month or two.
Yes, and you keep up the good work you're doing out here, too. I appreciate you.
All right, I appreciate you more, sister. Thanks. I love you.
Okay, I love you, too.
Peace. It was funny. We were doing, it's a small world. I was actually doing a program with a friend of mine named True. He's from a rap group called United Front. We were doing a program on courtship and mate selection. And this brother happened to call in. And of course, I recognized the area code. And we got to talking about how in nationalist circles, you can really tell a lot about somebody by the people they know. And if you're, really about doing anything in the community, you'll know the same people. And he was saying how in Cincinnati, there's really no consciousness. And I said, well, you know what? The bookstore Artistic Apparel isn't around anymore. So that was a big loss. But I said, you know what? There's a sister down there at Compro Tax named Robin Lewis. And if you're going to do anything, you should hook up with her. And he's like, oh, that's been my accountant for years.
Yeah, brother. Boy, that's a good brother there.
Yes, ma'am. So that was definitely, I just was laughing. I said, that's a small world.
Yeah.
Now, as far as avoiding getting audited, are there any things, I know that the children are a major thing, anything else that we do that would be a red flag to the IRS, or, that we may do differently than other people that would flag us and get us, kind of radared in on?
Well, we're big on getting the biggest bite out of this earned income credit, which is a very lucrative low-income tax credit that people can receive. And I will tell you that a lot of people think that our young people don't know anything, but when these young ladies come to my office, they know that EIC table by heart. And so sometimes we try to make up income so that we can get a bigger earned income credit and a bigger refund. And that's kind of an area where they're looking right now. So I tell my clients and my people, I'm like, we're not afraid of audits as long as we can document everything that we have on the return. So mainly for business owners, well, we try to educate them that, the whole tax game is a receipt game. You can document it, you can deduct it. And so people don't understand that, but that's mainly the main thing that, sometimes we have businesses and we're so busy running our businesses that we don't have time to keep track of the proper paperwork. And that has destroyed many successful black businesses in our community, because once they get that knock on the door from IRS and they're not able to provide the proper documentation, it's literally crippling experience because it haunts them for years. So that's kind of the main thing. If you're working, you're a W-2 person, you work, you only have a job, even those who have a house, there's no reason for you to get audited. So it's mainly in the business world where an audit would come into play.
Okay, so that's kind of something that's used as a scare tactic, but for an ordinary person, it's not really a huge deal.
No, not at all. We shouldn't worry about audits. I tell my clients when they leave my office, it's audit proof. You get an audit, we'll deal with it, but, that's nothing to fear.
Okay. All right. Well, we will go back to the phone lines here. 5487, you're live.
I'm just listening.
Okay, well, thank you for listening. All right. Oh, you know what? I feel so special. This cannot be my brother, Bomani Mayasa, who treats me bad. You try not to treat me bad, brother Bomani? Okay, he might be having some Skype issues, or he's just continuing. I always say he's another part of the rap group United Front, and he came on the show first, and the other members of the group did not call in to support him. So when they came on, of course, he called in and he said, "Oh, they treat me so bad." And then I noticed the only time Brother Bomani calls in is when United Front is on the program. So I think I'm the one getting treated bad. I don't think it's Brother Bomani. I don't know. And then he finally calls in today and then doesn't want to say anything. So we'll see. Brother Bomani, are you there? Okay. Yeah, he's going to continue to treat me bad. He can call back in if he wants. All right. 5469, you're live.
Hello?
Hi, how are you?
Okay, how's everybody?
We're good.
I come in a little late, but it sounds something interesting, something I'm looking for. I'm trying to. It's Sister Robin.
Yes.
Is it a contact number? Because I really like to
yes.
talk to you. Yeah.
I'll give you my contact number. It's area code 513 948 1829.
1829.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And I'll also give you a website if you want to go and look at the opportunity. If you want to do that, you ready for that?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, it's of course www.compro, COMPRO -opportunity.com.
COMPRO.
Uh-huh.
What?
ComproOpportunity.com. Compro-opportunity.com.
Okay.
And then, you can take a look at that, and feel free to call me anytime. The time to get into our business is generally we're at the tail end of our training right now. We're getting ready to do final exams in a week or so. And then we're going to do the tax season, and then we'll be recruiting all over again starting in May. And so you have, what city are you in?
I'm in the Delaware area, South Jersey.
Oh, okay. We've got some people in Philly, and we've got some people in Camden. I don't know if that's near you or not. But we've got. Okay. Well, if you give me a call, look at the website, and give me a call tomorrow, and I can either connect you with those brothers. I got a couple of really good brother in Philly and a good brother in Camden. So I can connect you, and you never know. You could possibly be very difficult to squeeze in this year because of all the things that you have to get done. But you can get connected, and we'll go from there.
Okay, yeah, I'm determined. Yeah, we're gonna make something happen. Okay, I give you a call tomorrow. Appreciate it.
Okay, all right. Appreciate you calling in and listening.
All right, brother. Take care. All right. My brother Bookman, how are you tonight?
Black Power, how you doing?
Black Power, I'm good. How are you, brother?
I'm doing well, Queen. I'm doing well. Listening in on this program, this is a very important subject here, talking about finances, one of the educations that we do have in this country living under the system is to know about finances. That's for the educations we do need. And for the Queen Mother that's on the station, or the other guests, it seems that, to me, it seems that it was more focused on taxes. Are there other avenues aside from taxes? Because, you can go and take a tax course. Is it more in-depth what they would teach you in the course you would take just to learn how to do taxes? Are there other avenues that you can take within this program to be able to understand money in terms of helping money to grow, help money to expanding your money, all the different avenues that, pretty much make your money grow?
There are. Now, that is not my area of expertise. That's why I'm talking taxes, because I don't want to pretend to be an expert in something that I'm not. But generally, for the people that I deal with, I have a sister down here in my city who we call the Money Lady. And the Money Lady knows everything there is about money. So there are angles that I think are very important. Learning about the stock market, investing, how to make our money grow, where to invest. I know several years ago she told me that, we only invest in foreign companies. America's pretty much a dried up dead place in terms of finances. But that is not my area. So I am more knowledgeable in taxation. That's my business and that's my area. We do a little bit, but if you wanted to talk about stocks and all that, I must say that that's not my area, and I would prefer to refer you to somebody that I know knows what they're talking about.
Okay, well, I have a question for you on the tax then. With taxes, now how far can you go with taxes? Because it only seems to come into play for the general masses or the general public at the end of the year or at the beginning of the following year. How far can you go with taxes?
You mean, how far can you go? I didn't get your question.
How am I trying to ask the question? I'm trying to ask the question. Like, all right, earlier in the show you said, how white folks come into our community. They set up their little quick, H&R Block joints, and they close shop after they eat up our money and then leave out of town. Last year I got my taxes done by this brother out over here in Philly. And the brother did a real good job for me where, I used to take him to H&R Block or this other Peckerwood. I wasn't too far from this other town, rather, and he had an advertisement. But being that you're more focused on taxes, right, are you able to just pretty much get people more, extract more from their taxes for them?
Yes. Generally what we try to do is teach them how to keep their money in their pockets.
Okay.
But our business is a year-round business. We're not one of those companies that disappear. I learned early on in the business that our people don't have a affinity to deadlines. So we file when we get ready. And so I pretty much stay busy year-round, helping people get out of trouble. But generally, it's about understanding the tax laws and how they work. That's how we teach. And then understanding what you have to do within your life so that you can keep your money in your pocket. So that's kind of what I try to teach.
And then also,
And actually,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say also for the rest of the year, then you also can supplement with like the bookkeeping and accounting and the other kind of financial things that you do as well.
Right. And what we do all year long is ask of the H&R Blocks and the other our people wrong. So they need somebody there to help something that we do also.
Okay. Sure enough, Quinn. Sure enough. Get back to the patient.
All right. You're breaking up a little bit. Did you have any other questions, Brother Bookman?
That's it, Quinn. That's it. Black power. Be forward.
A BB Folier, Black Power. All right. My brother, Irritated Genie, you're live.
Greetings, Queens. How are you?
Oh, good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. This is Sister Nima.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Your number is similar. And I always get that wrong. The Sister Nima, how are you?
I'm doing fine. I want to thank you for the program. This is a very enlightening program. But I do have a question. Being single, I don't, you don't have any, you don't own any property, you don't have any side businesses or anything. What advice could you give to someone who's single? As far as, because I noticed that I pay a lot of taxes. And it's like at the end of the year when I'm filing, I don't really see much of a return. So what advice would you give to a person who's single? How could they, should they juggle with their exemptions? Would you consider that an option for them? Just a way, what could they do to kind of keep more of their tax money, I would say, if I'm making sense.
Yeah, you are. You're making a lot of sense. You're right. Single people are victimized in the tax system, and what I would say to you is get a business.
Okay.
Because really, the reality is you don't want a big refund. Because when you're single and you just work, you don't have any children, all you want to do is break even. You don't want the government to have more of your money than they need.
Correct.
And so as long as you're working, you're going to be taxed. You're going to be victimized because you're working. You get no breaks. You have no children. Get no deductions. And basically that means you pay more taxes than rich Mitt Romney. I hate to say, but that's the truth. His tax rate lower than yours. So what you need to do, though, is understand that the only way you can get benefit out of the tax law is to start a business. It can be a home-based business. And then once you start that business, you understand how to document every dime that you spend. Because when you're in business, you get to write off everything that you spend to run that business. So you report your income, you report, and that's anything. They call it reasonable or necessary. That's the definition of a business expense. So the only way to do that would be to start a business. And in the beginning, of course, you're probably going to show a loss. So that loss would show up on your tax return and reduce your working income and then give you a little bit of that money back that was withheld. It's that or buy some property. Get some rental. But you got to be in business. As a worker, you'll never get benefit from the tax laws.
Yeah, I see. Okay. Well, thank you so much. This is helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for calling in.
Yes, ma'am.
Listening.
Peace, Sister Nima.
Peace.
And anybody that wants to call in, the number is 760-569-7676, participation code 948656#. And it's funny that she asked that because that was the next place I was going to go with this. That's the one thing I definitely learned in class, and I was absolutely amazed, are all the different write-offs and things that you can do when you're in business. And all of a sudden, I realized why people got to be rich and living these comfortable lives. I mean, I remember, if you drive your car and it's even remotely work related, you get a mileage deduction. And if you go out to eat with somebody and it's related to your business, it's a business deduction, that's a business lunch. Just anything you do, hotel stays, and maybe you can talk about that a little bit so people can really understand, because that's another benefit of maybe getting into this business or another business, whatever suits you, are those benefits. If you say you get into the taxes and then I want to take Robin to eat or go to lunch, Okay, well, that's going to be written off. And the gas I spent to go there is going to be written off. And, under certain circumstances, maybe some work clothing may or may not be able to be written off. Now, some of this may have changed. I haven't been in class in a few years. But could you talk a little bit about that so people can really understand how these other people are getting over and we're just kind of struggling?
Okay, okay. I'll start with the example of doing a mobile or home-based business. When you have a home-based business and you say you have I'll make it minimal, a two-bedroom apartment, and you use one of those bedrooms for your business, you are allowed to write off, let's say you had a total of 5 rooms and you use one for business, you get to write off 1/5 of your rent, 1/5 of your utilities, 1/5 of your all your bills of the house. It's called the business use of the home. And so that's a great deduction that a lot of people are not aware of and they don't take advantage of. But you can write off any costs that are particular to that room. Say you decide to paint the room and get some new curtains or put carpet down. Those are 100% write-offs. But things that you do around the whole house, say you have a business and you begin to see clients. So you landscape your house and you put flowers out and you do things. You get 1/5 of that as a tax write-off for the business. There are many businesses, like you said, the business meals, business travel. Say you're in the hair business, just an example, and you go to the hair show. From the moment you leave town to the moment you get back, everything that you spend in relationship to going to that hair show, the hotel, the food you eat, the transportation, all that is a tax write-off. That's one thing you can do. And then, of course, it's anything you buy for your business. Business miles are wonderful, but there's actually 2 ways you can deduct when you use your car. You can actually do the actual expenses or you can do mileage, whichever is more beneficial to you from a tax perspective. But some businesses, say like a construction person who does construction and has a truck that they may use 100% in business, well, the expenses of that truck are 100% write-offable. So they could look at gas, tires, repairs, car washes, insurance, license tags, and everything that it takes to maintain that car would be 100% write-off for business. And or else they could look at the mileage that they use and see which one comes out better. Now, whether you use mileage or you use actual expenses, everyone is allowed to write off their interest they pay on their car note. And you write it off up to the percentage that, say you use your car 25% for business, 25% of the interest of your car note is deductible. But that is something that I guarantee you no one else tells you. And that's one of the things that hurts us in our community is that we go year after year after year after year and we're uneducated. But there are a business deduction is defined as anything that's reasonable and necessary. Say you're a sports fan and you've got a business and you're trying to court a client and you decide to take them to a game. That expense is deductible because that's part of doing business. You're trying to get that person's business. So the door's wide open for business deductions as long as you can document them.
And you said that the other way to go about it was like owning some land or some property. Is that like rental property, or what were you speaking of?
Yeah, rental property.
And that has a lot of
That's
deductions.
Yeah, rental property took a hit in the past few years. A lot of people were in the rental property game and got kind of messed up with the whole mortgage thing. But now I can see, like I have a lot of young brothers who are into buying property, and a lot of people who've been smart have been just eating up these houses they're literally given away. Now, once you turn them out, you fix them up and you rent them out, that is a business write-off. And there are so many wonderful things that you can write off when you own rental property. And so that's another way to reduce your wages is by having some rental property, because generally on paper, at least in the beginning, rental property tends to be a loss for you. You spend more than you make. So that doesn't sound good, but from a tax view, it's wonderful.
Yes, ma'am. That's what I was going to actually say is when you say show a loss, people will be thinking that that's actually a bad thing. But that's actually what you want to do. That's actually how you're going to get more money back.
That's right. That's right. Now, you can buy a personal home. You can buy property also. There are a few write-offs. You can write off your mortgage interest, and you can also write off your taxes that you pay on the house. But those don't generally tend to be so great unless you do a lot of charitable contributions as well. And in order to do that, you have to beat your standard deduction. But even owning property is more helpful than renting.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And you talked about charitable deductions, so that would be, maybe a donation at a church or Goodwill, or there's a lot of different ways to do that, I'm sure.
Right, right. As long as it is a recognized charitable organization, it can be anyone, and you are allowed to write off up to 50% of your income per year.
Wow. And that's why.
So,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, I was just going to say, so it kind of puzzles me when you hear people bragging about somebody who's rich giving a charitable contribution. And, well, they're not doing it because they're nice. They're doing it because it's a fantastic tax write-off. And if you make $2 million, you can write off up to $1 million per year. So it sounds good. Yeah, he's charitable. Yeah, right. He's doing it for his taxes. So it's a charitable contributions are good write-off. But again, you still have to beat your standard deduction.
And those are the kind of things that you learn in the class because like I said, when I went, I didn't know anything. And even though I was already kind of hostile and militant, it kind of refined it a little bit because I could express things a little bit more and I could see through the okey doke a little bit more. There's so many of us who we hear about all these people and we feel they're so wonderful because they donate so much of their money. They're such humanitarians. And then you find out, no, that was for a reason. That was economic strategy.
Right, right.
Yes, ma'am. Let's see. We have, I think, Kip way back here. Let's see if he's just calling back in to listen or if he has another comment or question. Are you there, brother?
Yeah, I'm here. I actually had two questions. I forgot to ask my second question. Is it okay if I ask another one, or do y'all want to?
No. Ask whatever you want. Take your time.
Yeah, Sister Robin, it's me again. You often hear about Europeans starting organizations as tax shields, and we have a whole lot of African center organizations out here. What are some of the pros and cons, or the tax pros and cons to having an organization or to start one up? Is there any benefits or downfalls to having an organization, or how can we benefit financially or tax wise by starting these organizations?
Well, generally, you're probably talking about a not-for-profit organization, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no tax benefit for that.
Oh, okay.
As a matter of fact, nonprofit organizations are now under the eye of the IRS. So basically, there's a requirement that you file every year and just kind of show that you are operating in a good financial manner. But one of the things about the tax system and the tax game is generally, if you don't put anything in, you're not going to get anything out unless you're low income and you can scoop up that earned income credit. So the organizations are good because they benefit the community, but there's not necessarily, unless you're going to build a corporation. Now, that's a whole nother conversation, but just these nonprofit organizations, there would be no tax benefit for you.
Now, I was going to lead to that next question. Now, can organizations be LLCs or limited liability corporations? Can they fall under that?
Yeah, this is America. We can pretty much do whatever we want, just so you know. But, yeah, you could structure it as such if you wanted to, and then you would have to figure out what your model for making income would be, because that would be the reason to be in business, is to generate income. So a lot of times organizations get a little confused. They want to be a corporation, but corporations can't go out and get grant money, so to speak. So that's why people go nonprofit. But yes, if you wanted to be an LLC, you could. But again, you put nothing in, you get nothing out.
So it would be more beneficial to just remain nonprofit versus LLC.
Yeah, I think so, because LLC would be a little stricter. There'd be some more complicated tax filings that you'd have to do and keep up with. Your record would have to be a little tighter. But, I think now organizations want to go out and ask for money, and people who donate money generally want to know that you're in a position to allow them to write it off. So that's kind of what benefits right now. But, we do need to look at starting corporations and companies, because that's sort of what makes America work, and we need to understand that a little bit more. Stock and putting money in and taking money out. And so that there's a lot to be learned there, but you kind of have to be ready for that level.
Okay, that's all I want. I had 2 questions written down, and I failed to ask the second question earlier, but thanks again, sis.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Thanks for calling. Thanks for calling back in. And yeah, anybody with any questions, definitely call in. This is your chance. We're getting into tax season, and we are beginning a new year. So if you want to know some things that you can do to kind of help you out so that next tax season you'll be in a little bit better position, definitely call in. And even if you're interested in maybe finding somebody to do your taxes, if you live in a major metropolitan area, there may be a compro tax in your area that can help you out a little bit more than some of the competitors might do. Now, yes, ma'am. I guess one thing that we can hit on, another thing, and actually, the brother that owns this station, his name is Irritated Genie. He does a lot of lectures, and some of the lectures that he does are on Black business. And we know we have a lot of problems with Black business, be it that we don't support the Black businesses, or sometimes the Black businesses don't handle things the way they should. So there's, this back and forth about what are we going to do about supporting Black business. Can you tell us some of the problems that you've come into as a Black business owner? I know sometimes we say, we don't support Black business. Is that the only problem, or has there been other obstacles that you've had to overcome owning your own business?
Well, mainly it's the fact that we don't support. When I first opened my business, I did a lot of begging, so to speak, marketing, but actually it's begging people to come support me. And a lot of people who finally did come told me that they wanted to make sure that I was here for a couple years before they supported me. And a lot of people, our people that come to see me, just can't believe that we're capable of having such knowledge and actually helping them out. So in general with Black business, I just see there's a double standard that we have. We scrutinize a Black business to the T. We look in every corner and we try to judge, I had a bad experience. But these white businesses have been treating you bad for years, and you have never hesitated once to think about going back. But a Black business treats you bad one time, and you're done with all Black businesses. So that's part of a sickness that we have, where we don't like ourselves, and so therefore we don't like anything that appears to look like us. So that's more, it's a struggle being in business. I'll say that. It looks pretty from the outside, but it's a daily struggle. But, if that's something you're focused on, then you just make it work. There's good days and there are bad days. There's some days where you don't have any money, but you know that you're working toward a bigger goal. So, the next day things could get better. Business is tough, but I've never had so much joy in my life or freedom. If you want to be free, you should work for yourself. That's what I'll say, because I am free, and super free. And I am able to determine who comes in my circle and who doesn't in terms of life, where when you work on a job, you are subjected to all of the sickness that's out here in America. And I've worked in the corporate out here in the work world for 25 years, but when I started my business, that's when I gained freedom.
That's true, and I can attest to that because there's times when I'm visiting home and I'm like, let's go see Robin, and Robin done went on vacation somewhere. I'm seeing on Facebook Robin on a beach and having a good time. So we know that's definitely true. It really has. And it's beautiful to see the expansion. I know you had an office across the street and then you moved into a little bit bigger office, and just the success. Seeing Black people successful really gives other people the inspiration to think, okay, well, maybe I can do this. Maybe this is obtainable.
Yes, I think that's what we try to get people to see. We if we could get rid of the hate and some of the things that we dislike. We see somebody successful, and for some reason that becomes a problem for us. So, but that's bigger issues are our own mental health issues that we have in our community. But I do think that it's very rewarding, and I think that we can build community only when we have businesses and only when we work together. One person is great. Individual wealth is wonderful, but group wealth is what's going to change our community. So that's kind of what I like about what I'm doing, is that it's not just me. I'm part of a we. And so while they support me if I need help, when we decide we're going to do something, we pick a project, we all put our money in, and we do something for the community, and that I like. And you can only do that working for yourself.
Now, is there any money still available for Black businesses as far as loans or government subsidies or anything like that? Is that available or not really?
I've never seen it.
Okay.
I've been in business 10 years. Of course, I haven't looked for it. But when people come into my office and I'm going to get a business loan, oh, really? It's there, but it's not easily available. One of the things I like about the combo tax system is that we don't borrow money. We use our own money. We use each other. We borrow from each other. We're a low debt corporation. So that's something that they've taught me. If you want something, let's save up for it. Maybe we have to wait 2 or 3 years. I don't believe there's business funding. I hear a lot of talk about it. I have a lot of business owners that I do, and I don't know too many people that have really gotten real business loans. Yeah, they may throw us a few crumbs just to keep the voices down, but I personally don't believe that there's a ton of business money out there for people who look like us.
Right. So even if you go through the whole thing and you write your business plan and all of these things that they say that you need to do, it still doesn't look too good.
No, not really. And one of the games that I hate tremendously out here is this I hate the term minority period, but this whole minority business association, and how we have to go through this 200-page application to get certified to be a minority business, to stand in line and beg for crumbs, whereas our counterparts, all they have to do is walk right in the door and get the money. So that puzzles me, why a lot of Black businesses, I'm going to become minority certified, and they think that's actually going to do something for them. It's just a game to keep us going in circles. And so I personally have not really met anyone who's gotten any substantial money from anybody other than somebody in their family or somebody in the community. I don't think that they're really intending to see us successful.
Yes, ma'am. Now, I know, there are people who listen to this program live all over the country, even some international people, but definitely all over the country. And then it's usually put up on YouTube and even more people listen. So as far as your services, if people have questions or if they would be interested in you doing their taxes, do you only do taxes in the state of Ohio, or can you do taxes in other states?
I do taxes nationwide. I do taxes all over the country. Usually communicate. I've done taxes for people that I've never met, because they hear about me. But yeah, there's many ways. I have a lot of clients who are out of town. Technology allows us to do some things, and then of course there's always mail. So I have clients in many different states.
Okay. And as far as like the accounting and or bookkeeping or payroll, any of those services, is that pretty much open as well?
Yeah, the definitely the bookkeeping and the payroll possibility too. Right now, I actually personally don't do the payroll. Another young lady in my office, Carmen Hill, she does the payroll. And she actually is working with a couple of guys that they don't even live in the same state. One lives in North Carolina and one's in Atlanta. And they have a business, of course, in Ohio. But payroll is one of those things that can be done, electronically now, too. So it doesn't matter where you're at. If you need the services, we can provide it.
Yes, ma'am. Again, the call-in number is 760-569-7676, and the participation code is 948656#. I think Skype might have been acting up earlier, but it seems to be working now, so you can feel free to call back in. If there is anybody listening, because I have quite a bit of time before the next class, I think you said you begin promoting in like May, and I think the classes begin in, is it July?
Yeah, end of July, early August, yes.
Now, if somebody was thinking about doing that this summer, what advice might you give them as far as preparing themselves to go into business for themselves? Because that's a pretty big step, and like I said, we hear a lot about black entrepreneurs kind of needing to step their game up a little bit sometimes, and sometimes it's not really fair, and sometimes it is. Sometimes I went to, I wanted a hat the other day. So I went to this Rasta store. I was like, oh, this looks like a cool store. And I think I came out with my first contact because they're in there. I walk in there and it's kind of smoky. They're in there smoking weed. That's not the most professional thing in the world that you want to do when you have a store open to the public and not just, your own group of people. So little silly things that sometimes we do like that kind of mess us up. Of course, that's kind of extreme. Most people aren't smoking weed in their business. But do you have any suggestions or recommendations for people to kind of start getting their mind right to go into business and be free?
Yeah, I would say that generally you might study a little bit about entrepreneurship and what it means. There's a couple of quizzes out here online you can take to see if you've got what it takes. A lot of times they ask you, are you willing to suffer? Are you willing to sacrifice for a couple of years until you get on your feet? And that's something that people have to look at. That's one of the things that I'll say that people can do to get ready. But the other thing you have to do is, begin to educate yourself in terms of who we are, understanding, maybe even study the history of what we did as a people when we were the kings and queens, when we created paper and math and calculus and just study the history of who you are. And that will give you the power to know that you can do it, because really there's nothing stopping you. There's nothing you have to prepare for unless you've been thoroughly miseducated, which is really why we can't do it. But, I just say study that. It's just a matter of coming in. Our training, we teach you everything you need to know. And so if you were going to come into the compro tax business, just be prepared to, get your confidence up, learn how to talk to people, not necessarily just sell, but build relationships, because that's what people don't understand. You don't just go to people and sell. Being in business is about building relationships. So, if you're going to think you're going to be in business, it's December now. Start talking to people. Start building your clientele. See who would support you. Those kind of things. But other than that, we do a lot of the training ourselves, so we'll get you ready.
And it's kind of interesting when you talk about finding people to support you. Do you find sometimes it's not necessarily the people that you think will support you that actually do? Like family may or may not support you. How do you find that? Will people be surprised who supports them and who don't?
Yeah, you think it's going to be your close friends and your family, and you're all excited. Oh, we. But I've been discouraged because, I do have some friends who have supported me and family also, but I see it with some of the people that I've recruited that, they're just so angry when their family members don't come in. But I try to explain to them that there's a number of reasons for that. One being the sensitivity of the tax business, that people don't. I don't want her to know my business. Well, they don't understand. We see so much number. We don't internalize it. It's not something that, oh, look how much they make. I mean, we don't look at it that way. But a lot of people have hang-ups. I'm not going to her because I don't want her to know my business, kind of thing. But I have got my most support from a ton of people that I never knew. Building new relationships. So it is discouraging when your family and your friends won't come, but sooner or later they'll come around after they see you made it. A lot of people sit back because they want you to fail. So can't get caught up in that. So I would say you have to approach people that you don't even know.
Yeah, and that's good too as a way to just get out in the community. A lot of people, there are people who actually are in the community doing things, but a lot of us may talk about it, but we're really not out there like we should be. So getting out there and building up a rapport and a reputation with people, just networking. That's something a lot of times we're just not used to doing is getting out there and networking. But if you're going to use your money for something to benefit the community, then you need to have contacts. A lot of times, that's how white people get a heads up in the world. Their father knows somebody or they went to school with somebody, and sometimes we don't have that same benefit. So to get out there and really network and build these bonds and these connections, I'm sure would only help in business.
Yeah, it really does. And we're kind of lucky because we've got some very interesting people in Comprotax, and we've got a brother down in Atlanta, Baba Wakesa okay, I'm not going to say his last name, so I'm going to mess it up. Mazi Moya. And him and his wife have an online Afrocentric school, Aya Educational Institute. And what he does for us every year is he teaches us a course called Consultative Selling. And he spends time with us teaching us how to build relationships, not just attacking people for the business, but actually caring about people and listening. He teaches us how to listen to what people need, and then we fill their needs. So that's another big piece of training that's totally separate from our class that we've been getting every year because we have somebody powerful like that. Baba Wakesa is really, really great brother down in Atlanta. And so we got different pieces that we inject. So that's a part that we teach people. We start teaching that class maybe like in September. We usually do it on an off day, like a Sunday night or Sunday or something. And so then it gets people the chance to go out, and we actually do surveys. And we survey people to find out, what they've been doing, what they need, what would help them, and so forth. And so it gives us a kind of a leg up on recruiting. And for new people, it's really good in terms of, giving you the courage to go out and just talk to people, because that's our biggest problem. We're scared.
Definitely. I know for me, that was one of my biggest problems because contrary to popular belief, everybody hears me on the radio and they think I'm like this real rah-rah person, but usually I'm kind of quiet and reserved. If I don't know you, I don't want to talk to you. So that's a big hurdle is getting over that and actually going up and saying, hello, how are you doing? My name is so-and-so. This is what I do, all that kind of stuff. It does take some getting used to unless you have that kind of just an outgoing personality.
Right, which many of us don't. So we do need that encouragement. But another thing that will encourage you is if you're hungry. If you're hungry, you'll figure out a way to get yourself to where you need to be so you can eat. And so that's another motivator, not a good one, but that's another motivator that generally gets people out hustling.
Definitely, and that's something that we have to start thinking about. And I think that we're not taking that seriously enough is the level of unemployment, and that it's just going to get worse. It's not getting any better for most of us. So if we are only depending on white men to feed our family or white businesses to feed our family, if we're dependent on that paycheck, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. We have to start, whether it's a hustle, whether it's a business, whatever it is, we can't be so dependent on the system because now they're saying the economy is bouncing back and unemployment rates are dropping for white people, but I don't think they're dropping for black people. I don't see it.
Yeah, well, we've never been too fully employed anyway, so it's not affecting us. But one of the things that is going to affect us is when they snatch these benefits from us. When we can no longer get that check and Section 8 disappears and all the things that we use, that's when I guess maybe that'll be the point in time that we decide we need to work together. But, sooner or later we have to face the reality that America's about to change, and it's going to change for the worse. And so, all the things that we depend on are going to turn out to be that we have to depend on ourselves.
Definitely. And again, I'm going to say I'm not one to plug something that I don't believe in or that I have no experience with. And that's why I wanted to do the show, because I really do think that it's a good opportunity, for our people to be able to do the things they want to do, especially with our listenership, because this isn't just about making a quick buck or something like that. It's really a network of people trying to improve our condition and trying to give back to the community, and realizing and making it relevant to us, and realizing, who the enemies are, what we're up against. I know that maybe you might not have heard this, but War on the Horizon has been investigating a series of lynchings in Delaware. Nobody would know in 2012 that people were getting hung in Delaware and having their ears and their genitalia cut off. These kind of things are still going on, and we have to wake up, and we have to stop being so dependent on people who have been our enemies basically since we've come to these shores, that all of a sudden they're going to do something to help us. We have to start helping ourselves.
Yeah, you're right. And I did not know anything about that either. That's, not surprising, because I've been around a long time, so nothing that happens surprises me. But, right, what are we going to do about it? That's always my question. We can talk about all the injustice in the world, but what are we going to do about it?
Exactly.
That's always yeah.
And that's exactly what it boils down to. Well, we have a few minutes in the show left to start to wind down. Did you have anything else that we didn't get to touch on today that you'd like to say or bring up?
Not really, but I did want to say that I wanted to talk about a few other things that we do as a company, and if anybody's in the Beaumont, Texas area, first of all, or even in Houston, Beaumont is somewhat close to Houston. We do an annual retreat that we do down there where we all get together, and you never can really get a full picture of the company until you see us together as a group, a powerful group of Black people who are on the same page, taking care of business. It's really a wonderful thing. And then in October, we have something called the Cultural and Economic Seminar that we do every year. This year it was in October, and it's of course in our building down in Beaumont, but we bring in speakers, national speakers, from all over the country, and we may deal with the topic of the day. It kind of depends on who the speaker is. Various speakers come in, but it's a great opportunity to get a feel for compro tax, although it's something that they do in the Beaumont community. The Black community participates as well as compro tax, but it's a nice one-day event. It's normally on a Saturday, and it's usually a powerhouse event. I will say that one year we had the sister, the Empowerment Experiment. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's a couple out of Chicago who 3 years ago decided to buy only Black for 1 year and see how things went. The wife was a lawyer and the husband was some kind of financial planner, and they sit one day thinking about all the money they were wasting, and they wanted to know if they did a whole year of buying Black, how that could affect and change the community. And they understood that their dollars were dollars that could help build a small business. So living in Chicago, that was probably a lot easier than some other cities, because they probably got, Black grocery store cleaners, and a lot of things. So they really went well. They've done so well that they've kept the experiment going now. I think they're in their third year, but the sister came down, and she's actually from South America somewhere. I don't remember which country now, but she was just so powerful. She shook the building with her stories of her Black experience, and everybody was kind of moved by that. So, there's a lot of different things to share, and it's a great venue. But we just do all kind of different things, not just taxes. Taxes is just our means to make money so that we can do some of these other things. So I want people to look at the opportunity as a whole. Number one, for your own self-sufficiency. I want you to look at getting into corporal tax as a possibility to leave something for your children, without having to worry about, I got to get an education. And, we all know that the college education is a wonderful thing, but it certainly hasn't helped our young people be successful. We train people to get jobs, and so if we could create businesses in our community, our children could just walk in the door and make money and create what they really want to create in life. So we actually tell people to come to Compro Tax just to build up your financial situation, and then give yourself permission to go out and do whatever it is that's really in your heart, because taxes aren't in anybody's heart, but we all have to have an economic vehicle by which we can survive. And the more of us that are doing it together, the more successful we can be.
Definitely, definitely. And it's something that you can do part-time, you can do full-time. Like you said, it really gives you that freedom, to do what you want to do, have it fit into your life instead of it just take over your life like our jobs do. You may have somewhere to go and that you want to go and you can't go because you can't get off, or, you're only going to make a certain amount of money. You can't set your own goal. There's definitely a limit there for most of us, unless you're just, have a plush job, which most of us do not have. We're only going to go so far on that job, and you can't get over that ceiling. And usually it's not enough to live really comfortably, not the way that you want to, and not the way that we deserve to. And we have developed such a poverty kind of mentality where, sometimes we can't see above it. We just think this is just how it's going to be. Some of us never leave our neighborhood. That's just all we see. We don't travel. We don't go anywhere. We don't see how other people live. We don't see other possibilities. So we just think that this is it, and it's not.
Right. That is so true. Yeah, that is very true. And plus the fact when you have a job, you can't help others. That job just overbroke, is just giving you the ability to barely pay your bills. And so you can never really do anything for the community because you never have any extra money. So if you work for yourself, it's unlimited what you can do. And, whatever business you're in, the earnings are endless. So we just got to change our mindset and understand that we're the only ones that can create success for ourselves.
That's definitely true. Well, before we end out today, can you give your contact information for anybody who wants to contact you again?
Okay. Again, my name is Robin Lewis, Compro Tax. And my office number in Cincinnati is area code 513-948-1829. And if you're in another city and you'd like to call me, and and we have a Compro Tax office, I can make the connection for you to the person in your city. We have 2 websites available. The first one is more so about the opportunity itself, getting into the Compro Tax business. And that website is www.compro-opportunity.com. And then the other website we have is sort of our national website. It's a website where all the office locations are listed on this website, as well as a ton of other information about us. And that would be www.comprotax.net, COMPROTAX.net.
Definitely. And anybody who is listening who may not have a pen or a piece of paper with them, of course, I always do a blog post with all of the information for the guests. So if you go to message the number 2 theblackfam.com, you will see it there, all of her information. So again, message the number 2 theblackfam.com, and you will see all of her information, and probably sometime tomorrow I will be putting up a copy of the show in case there was any questions that you or anything that you wanted to hear over again. So that will definitely be available. I thank you so much for calling in, Robin. It was good to hear from you again. A lot of good information, and I hope that you hear from a few people tomorrow, definitely.
Okay, and I want to thank you for the opportunity, too, and want to tell your listeners that the questions don't stop tonight. If you have a tax question, a tax issue, or tax problem, you can contact me anytime, year-round. Don't suffer. Don't fight by yourself. That's kind of why I'm here. We'll help you fight. But I know sometimes people tend to stand back with their questions, so I want you to know that I'm available way beyond this show. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and to get my name out. And Sister Shabazz, I really, really, really appreciate you. But anybody who has something they want to ask, I'm always available.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, well, that pretty much wraps it up for my program for the night. I hope that you found it helpful. I know that we had some callers calling in asking questions, and if you didn't want to ask your questions tonight because of, it's financial and that's kind of personal, private, definitely be sure to give her a call tomorrow, because she's a good-hearted sister and she's not going to answer your questions to try to make a profit or to try to get over. She's really going to try to help you do the most with your money and set you up really well. So definitely stay in contact with her. She is a great resource for you. If you want to keep listening, the Cipher program will be on next. They have what I understand is going to be a really, really good show. They are going to be discussing a warrior's love story. Now, how often do we hear about that on War on Horizon? A love story. That's a good thing. We want to keep it positive as always. So stay tuned for the Cipher, and we will see you back here again in 2 weeks. Peace.